There are stars and the southern sky. Southwards as you go. There is a taste of time sweetened down the 7 bridges road. I have loved you like some lonesome child. And I have loved you and a team. Excuse me. And I have loved you. Wow. Sometimes there's a part of me has to turn from here and go, running like a child from these warm stars down the 7 bridges road. There are stars and the southern sky. And if ever you decide you should go, there is moonlight and moss in the trees down the 7 bridges road. Now, of course, when I think of 7 Bridges Road in the South, I think of the asphalt in America it's got a different feel than the asphalt in other parts of the world. And of course, I want to be driving that. I drive that in an old Triumph, the old Triumph from the late 60s, early 70s. That's got even some wood in the bodywork. Not to mention, some old American muscle cars, or not even quite muscle cars, from the late 60s or the 70s, like the Green Riviera that I wanted to get for Narissa and the Kinkikigai channel too. Excuse me, Carrie 2. Or any of the cars from Drive Angry, which don't get me started, but Drive Angry is from I mean, I've taught literature, not that that should make a difference, but you know, it's like, come on, it's the most. I actually think it's probably it's arguably, it's probably my favorite piece of literature right now, and even film-wise, Drive Angry is just. I mean, we're talking about John Milton. Leaving aside that it could work both as a cheesy movie, an action comic book, an art flick, a Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez genre, that where the editing, the pacing, the acting. I mean, just think of what's her name, Katie? What's her name, Kathy? She played the. I call her Sisur, but she played Norma Jean, I think, the brunette waitress at the diner. Even the diner scenes, it's amazing. I'm getting too sidetracked and getting too much away, but if you think about the millennia of theology and philosophy, and even personal struggles with, you know, heaven and hell and so on and so forth, and for somebody, is it Patrick Lussier? And what's their name? That, I'm sorry, right now I forget the names, but I've only watched it fucking 14 times or so. But you know, Saint Augustine and the Buddhas. People have wondered about, you know, pain and punishment and heaven and earth and life and death, and in such an apparently I can't believe, anyway, but for the writers to come up with the notion that hell is not about so much about your burning and your pain, but hell is being forced to watch your loved ones suffer, is actually something that the, you know, theology and mythology and philosophy, mystics and scholars and writers and shamans, that is a revelation, to say that hell is being forced to see your loved ones suffer. But then the movie also comes up with these tongue-in-cheek solutions, like when Nick Cage, and I'd love to see, believe it or not, Tom Selleck and Angela Bassett. I think that movie should be the script from a literary perspective. The script is so impeccable that I'd love to see 1,000 remakes. But among the many people that I imagine doing remakes, although I think that every actor, or almost probably every, I mean, the actors in the original Drive Angry, the only one right now, are amazing, because Amber Heard can pull off something like the diner scene. Is such a cliche, and they flip it on its head, because that works both as the, you know, the diner scenes, American diner scenes, have been seen in so many movies, and they, you know, art imitates life, life imitates art, and they're aware of the relatively cheesy aspect of the film while they're making Drive Angry. But Amber Heard and even the stand-ins or the people that have shots in the corner somewhere. But especially, I would say Amber Heard and Kathy, what's her name? This is just every frame of her is amazing. But they actually flip it on its head, because while they're imitating diner scenes, they're actually the diner scenes in American movies imitate life in the diner movies. They're and Drive Angry. What they're doing is they're actually doing a loop where they're imitating the diners, but then again, they're actually playing the characters like they're real people. I mean, the movies about the diner scenes want to imitate real people, but they end up looking like cliches, American cliches of real people in diners, with the waitress, and it's so predictable and so cliche. But the way Amber Heard and Kathy play that, they're like real people in the diners. As cheesy as it is, they're as cheesy as the real. The scene is arguably as cheesy as the real, and then the movie in their tongue-in-cheek, at times, tongue-in-cheek approach, full of references that show an amazing ability to rock and roll and put the where the rubber meets the road on the one hand, and at the same time quote literature and understand the difference between voodoo and Satanism, and make references about Jesus prefers short hair, or jokes. They can deal with God, they can deal with devil, they can deal with Anubis, they can deal with all these aspects. They can make comments about the difference between zombies on the one hand, which are a powerful metaphor, zombies in themselves, but they're saying, opening the door to devils and demons is a door that you cannot close. But they also in addition to reaching what I think is an apex of mystical understanding by saying that hell is having to watch your loved ones suffer, they can also reason, because there's mysticism and logic, and they mix them both. And they can say, when Nick Cage says, "What's he gonna do?" He's out of hell. What's he gonna do? Not let me back in? There's logic behind it, meaning, in addition to the fact that there's hope, you can get out of hell, which symbolically also means you can do something to make your life better, as far as your relationship with your loved ones, which ultimately is your relationship with the world, arguably. But let's say something like, once you scope it out, once you scope hell out, once you know hell, what's the worst that can happen to you? And so there's this gradation where you can go in and out of hell in life, But then the pacing, I was going to say filmically, in terms of the craftsmanship of filmmaking, the soundtrack is amazing, but the pacing of the film is amazing. If you look at the transitions, and if you start to understand the camera work and the editing and the pacing, it's just flawless. What the? Okay.